Hi, I went to some extra trouble on this, kind of practicing what I wanted to say. That's part of the reason it took so long, but finally the video is going to be coming to you. In a way, I hope you haven't already solved it. And in a way, I do hope you've already solved it because I hope this video will help other people too. But actually, I'm so sorry to have taken so long to do this. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen. Nope, wrong screen. Where's your shared window? I don't know. Okay, I'll share the whole thing. Doggone it. All right, there's the whole window. Me and my sheep. Okay, I actually drew in little holes to represent, little circles to represent the points on the lines. Of course, you can't really see them because they're too small. And they're infinitely close. But, you know, you have to make do with what you've got. So there are a bunch of little dots, little points, all up and down this line. Because we're going to talk about what domain and range really are as we work this problem. So I am going to let the domain be green and the range be blue. Okay. Each of these points has an X and a Y coordinate. The X coordinate matches up with an X coordinate on the X axis. So it'll take a long time for each of those points to match up, but you probably get the idea. So after all these points that are a lot closer than I could draw them, after they match up with a point on the a point on the x-axis, a value on the x-axis, the domain looks like this. And then X cannot actually equal -3 because that's an open circle. So there will be an open circle here. Now, this closed dot also matches up with that value on the x-axis, which is -3. And since X can equal -3 here, because the circle is filled in, that's going to fill in our dot there. So this closed dot, closed point, there you go. This closed point actually fills in the open circle there. Now we keep on. All of these points here match up with points on the x-axis. Of course, they're so close together. What you have is what looks like a solid domain. And then this is a solid point, so there you go. This is actually a solid green line with no breaks in it to there. Now, there is no graph until you get here. And then this point matches up with the x-axis, and then the points on the graph start matching up again. Their x-coordinates start matching up again with the x values on the x-axis. And there aren't any breaks in this part of the graph, so you end up with a solid green line again, all the way to here. All right, so our domain is where the green line is. Let's get rid of these guys, because that's just showing the matching up of the points with x values on the x-axis. And now there is your domain. All we have to do is write the domain. The domain goes from -8 to -1. Then it picks up again at +1. And ends at +5. And the way we hook these together is with a U. So that's your domain. Now we're going to do the same thing, the same idea with the range, but let me save. Okay. So we switch to blue and notice that all of the points on this left part of the graph, all of them line up with 1 on the y-axis. Now the y-coordinate of this point is going to line up with 4. And then all of the y-coordinates of all of these points are going to match up with values on the y-axis. So let's actually take some time to do this, because this is actually very interesting. Of course, there's not really any space between them. Now both of these graphs start feeding in like this. I should have used shading. Didn't think of it. Could have used one of the highlighters. But don't forget these points over here. They're lining up with values on the y-axis. So you've got it coming from everywhere, from here, all lining up with points on the y-axis. And from here, whoops, went too far, lining up with points on the y-axis. And this keeps going up, so well, trying to get this point across is actually worth the time I'm spending. So if you've got time to watch me draw these wavy little lines, which should be straight, but they're not straight. Oh, now that I'm thinking about it, they're getting straight. Woo! Look at that. We don't have any breaks at all in the range. You have a solid blue line. Oh, in fact, I'm going to get this line right there. This line right there. There. And that's actually a solid line. From -4 to +8. So your range isn't complicated at all. Goes from -4 to +8. And I'm using brackets on all of these because the endpoints have solid colored endpoints. Okay, and here too. That point is solid, so that y is really there, so I use a bracket, and this point is solid, so I use a bracket at -4 as well. So if I get rid of all of these very strange, kind of psychedelic lines there, ah! Okay, I've lost my domain. Part of my domain. Whoop. There, put it back. Let me save it. The green line is your domain. You notice it matches up with the graph. It's on the x-axis and it matches up with the graph. The range is on the y-axis and it matches up with the graph. Yes, you've got pieces of the graph, but since all of these points are connecting in a way, are matching up with the y coordinates on the y-axis doesn't know there's any discontinuity at all. So that's it. That's the story of our domain and range of a broken graph. You could also say a discontinuous graph, but it's harder to say discontinuous than broken. Bye-bye.